Hi, and welcome back to Jen and Dan's Natural Healing with Plants, the go-to podcast for holistic health seekers looking to harness the power of nature for health and healing. I'm Jen, a passionate health educator, whole food plant-based culinary coach, and master herbalist. And I'm with my friend Dan, an exercise specialist and wonderful master herbalist. Together, we dive into the world of natural healing, bringing you a wealth of knowledge and practical advice. We draw from both traditional wisdom and modern science with herbs and foods to help you achieve optimal health. So today we are talking about my favorite, cocoa or chocolate. We want to talk about everything chocolate related. So many people say it is a superfood. Some people say that we need to avoid chocolate, that it's bad for you. And so that's why I wanted to talk about it today. Should we eat our cocoa?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that's too tasty to avoid altogether.
Yes. Maybe we need to talk about, all right. So, when we read all these studies, when we hear people talking about cocoa, chocolate, cacao, these are all different things. And so we need to make sure that first we clarify what what are these different things. So cacao is the raw cocoa bean. So cocoa chocolate comes from a plant. So yes, it's a plant. It's a plant-based food. But it's a bean, a type of bean that is dried and ground to create cacao. That's the raw chocolate. Then I don't know how they change it. How is cocoa formed? Do you know, Dan?
Oh, well, this definitely has to be processed in a plant. You've seen the original, it's almost like a hard shell. It's got a hard shell around it.
Yeah, I've seen it at botanical gardens.
I think it would probably have to be dried out because usually when you open it, it looks a little moist. So I
Hmm.
think you have to dry it out, and then I'm not exactly sure how they get it in such a fine powder, but I'm sure it has to be dried and processed with a machine. I've never,
Yeah,
just like a lot of herbs we use.
right, right. So I think that cocoa is a more processed cacao, and maybe some things are added to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know, like this is a Simple Truth Organic Dutched cocoa powder, and Dutched means it's with alkali. So it has added alkali to it, is organic cocoa powder processed with alkali. So it has something added to it. And then there's chocolate. So chocolate usually has other products added to it.
Yeah.
And so chocolate usually has milk added, sugar added, and things like that. And so I think it's important that we talk about the differences there between
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
yeah, so we're comparing the same thing, so telling someone not to eat chocolate is not the same as telling someone not to eat cacao, or that you should eat chocolate versus you should eat cacao.
Yes, I mean we're not recommending to eat candy bars every day because you're gonna there's a lot of fat and you might gain weight. Your most of your intake's gonna come from the powder because it doesn't have any calories, but it's got a lot of flavonols and things like that.
Yes, yes.
That's why I eat mostly. I mean, every once in a while I have a dark chocolate bar, but I mostly eat the powder.
Mm. Yeah, I use the powder pretty much all the time.
Yeah.
Yes, and so I did a quick search. So cocoa is the raw bean from the cacao tree. Um, Three Abroma cacao, which we're going to talk about that. So Three Abroma, that is part of the name. So it's interesting. It's minimally processed. We can buy cacao nibs. I do buy cacao nibs. I love those sprinkled on a smoothie. They're really crunchy.
Hmm.
Um, Cocoa is made from cacao beans as well that have been roasted. So cacao is raw, where cocoa has been roasted, and then they add the alkali to help with the bitterness, because cacao is very bitter. Here in the US, we don't like bitter foods. We like sweet foods, and we need to learn to eat those bitter foods. Those bitter foods are what our body wants. The liver loves bitter. And so if you can get yourself used to eating cacao, if you do like cocoa powder, then that's going to be a better choice, because it's going to be a little more bitter. And like I said, the liver loves bitter. Okay, so sorry. I wanted to make sure that I I
I'm
looked
glad
that
you
up so
did. That
that
was
so our readers. So cacao is going to be higher in your flavonoids, right? And
mhm.
it's going to be higher in your antioxidants versus cocoa because the cocoa has been heated, which is going to diminish those antioxidants as well. Yeah,
Yes, and that's usually what you find at the supermarket is your heated product.
right, right. But you can buy in cacao in lots of different places. I bought mine and I buy mine on Amazon actually.
Yeah.
Just make sure that you're looking for organic. But we also need to talk about some drawbacks. So before we got on the call, we talked about, some of the heavy metals that are
Yeah.
in chocolate. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, there was a I think it was a news story a few years ago talking about cocoa and cacao, talking about that they were testing it and it seemed to have high levels of lead. And so you really have to watch out for that because if you get too much lead in the body, it can cause things like high blood pressure and it can mess with your your nervous system if it got a lot of heavy. I don't know how much lead's in this stuff,
Mhm.
but they did state that they're going to start a new process to where they start to test the cocoa and try to get the lead content to go down. Now, I don't know if they're working on that now. I don't
Right.
worry about that as much. I mean, I only eat maybe a teaspoon a day.
Yeah. I remember I had a lot of clients reaching out to me, where should I buy cocoa or and stuff like that. And I haven't dug into the research. And so we definitely need to look into the research or purchase whoever is purchasing. If you are purchasing cocoa or cacao, look at the source. Where are you getting this from? What country? How is it grown? Where is it grown? And is there a lot of lead or heavy metals in the soil where these things are grown?
Yeah, you have to look, and then they also claim there's some of them have cadmium too. So
Yeah. Yeah, cadmium, I believe that was the one that I really was concerned about.
yeah,
It's high in a lot of them. Yeah. And so it's a concern for me because those of you who are new to me, I am definitely a chocoholic. I love my cocoa. I do buy cacao, but then I do buy, I mean, I'm holding cocoa here in my hand. And then I also buy dark chocolate chips as well. And so I like those as well. I don't
yeah.
overdose on those. I might overdose on the cacao powder. Uh,
Well, in
yeah.
our talk here, I just found that the brand Navita's organic cocoa powder
Hmm.
seems to be one of the cleanest ones. It has less lead and cadmium than other brands. So Navita, I mean, we don't
And
sell it, but
no, we don't sell it. And that's one of them that is easy to get on Amazon. I've bought several of
oh,
their
that's good.
products.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's one that's lower. It's been tested more. They try to get the metal
So it's
content down.
safer.
Yeah.
Yes. So let's talk about some of the health benefits. And so make sure that you do your due diligence in searching on whether or not the one that you're buying is heavy in metals or not. But there can be some benefits to eating cacao as well. Like we already talked about the difference between cacao and cocoa. Cacao is the raw product. And so there are things in there like flavonoids. So flavonoids, they help to relax the blood vessels and improve circulation and lower blood pressure. And so that can be a good thing. Now, does that mean you should go and have a candy bar? No. Should you have a Hershey bar? Definitely not. I don't know about you, Dan, but I ate, I don't know, maybe a Hershey Kiss or something. It's been a few years now since then, but it was after I'd been eating, like cacao,
Yeah.
and it's disgusting. It's like
Uh,
gritty. Yeah,
uh-huh.
it's really gritty and the flavor, I mean, it was horrible. And so our taste buds, we can change our taste buds for
Oh,
sure. So if you're
yes.
eating dark chocolate or cacao and it's just way too bitter for you, you'll get used to it. And then those other things they're not going to be good to you at all.
Yeah, I've had the same
And
experience.
yeah, and how much sugar and fat have been added and chemicals to that
Yeah.
Hershey Kiss, right? And so
Yeah,
it's much better to eat something closer to its whole state.
definitely.
Yes.
And you're talking about blood pressure. They also
Hmm.
found that cocoa actually helped reduce arterial stiffness, which is, they say every person over a certain age has arterial stiffness.
Hmm.
And it's usually, it's caused by lifestyle factors, though, bad diet, not enough exercise, too much salt. But here's another herb. Cocoa is a herb and it can help with arterial stiffness. We're talking about the powder, though. In this study, they were using capsules.
Hmm.
Like you're just saying, if you're eating a Hershey's Kisses, it's not going to help your arterial stiffness any,
No, no.
but the powder will.
Right, the powder can help with that, which
Hmm.
we like to add. So we talked about that earlier. Like I like to put it in my smoothie, and you said you
Mm.
like to put it in your smoothie as well. And like I'm drinking dandelion tea, and sometimes I'll put some in my dandelion tea when I'm drinking dandelion tea
Oh, wow. That
as
sounds
well.
good.
It's so good. Yes. I'll teach you all the tricks.
Yes.
Yes. And then there are some brain benefits as
Mhm.
well. And if it's increasing um, blood flow, then it's also increasing blood flow to the brain, which can help with focus and cognitive decline as well.
Yeah, and they say one reason chocolate's so popular on Valentine's Day because it increases the feel-good hormones, gets you in a better mood.
Yeah.
So, and, we talk about mental health because it's very important. So anything that
Right.
can help.
Right.
It
Definitely.
doesn't increase dopamine. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes. Yeah. You get that dopamine hit,
Yeah.
which is probably why I like it so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the threobromine, which I had no idea that that's what the name threobromine is, the chemical that is in the cacao, and tryptophan. They also help with um, that good feeling as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know I always feel better when I have a little bit of chocolate.
Me
It's a
too.
mood booster.
Yes, when I used to have it in my drawer, but I have my secret chocolate stash. Like I had
Yeah.
a very stressful job and I always had chocolate somewhere in there. It was like if which is not a good thing. If you have to have food because you're having a bad day, then you have obviously there's something that else that could be done instead of grabbing food. But for me, it was my um it was soothing to me. And so it was my go-to when I was having a stressful day.
Well, that's good to know, but let's
Yeah.
see.
So the flavonoids also help with nitric oxide production.
Ah,
Yes, which we love that too, to help with blood flow, relaxing the blood vessels, lowering blood pressure as well. Yeah, which is good for the heart
in the brain,
and the brain, like we said. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So what defines dark chocolate? I think I lost Dan. So dark chocolate is usually 70% or higher. You want to get close, the higher the number, the better. If you're going for the health benefits for dark chocolate, you definitely want to get a higher amount, a higher percentage of the dark chocolate. Yes. And so I just want to talk a little bit more about, hopefully Dan will join us back in a minute. It's rich in flavonoids, which help to lower blood pressure, enhance blood flow to the brain and the heart, reducing the risk of blood clots and decreasing levels of bad LDL cholesterol. And before we got on the computer, Dan had looked up some studies that talked about cocoa, and I asked him, I said, well, how much cocoa are they talking about? And so that's another thing we want to look at. When we look at these studies, they call something a superfood. I'm not saying cacao is not a superfood, but when we look at these studies, the reason why I grabbed this can is because one of the studies that he looked at, it was something like 50, I think it was 50 grams of cacao a day created this benefit that they were talking about. And I said, well, how much is 50 grams? And I looked it up. And so one on my container here, 1 tablespoon is 5 grams. So that'd be 10 tablespoons. So that's over a half a cup. So you'd have to eat over a half a cup of cacao powder every day to get this benefit. And while I do love cacao, I'm not going to eat over a half a cup of cacao powder every single day. And so we have to look at these studies. And then he found another one that still showed numerous benefits, and it was for 4.8 grams a day, which is just under 1 tablespoon. And so that, like if I put a teaspoon in my smoothie and a teaspoon in a latte and a teaspoon in some yogurt, that's going to give me a tablespoon, 3 teaspoons in a tablespoon. Well, that is definitely, I probably get that much every day. And so with that, it's packed with the antioxidants, which we talked about, the flavonoids. Flavonoids also help with inflammation, and which protects our cells. We hear about oxidative stress, everything that we do, from digesting our food. If you work out or run, you build up lactic acid in the body. That's an acid. We need to cool that acid. We need antioxidants to help our body handle that acid that's created. Well, those acids are created all throughout our body for numerous reasons. And so we want antioxidants to help with that. And then, like we said, we talked about some of the cognitive benefits as well. It increases the blood flow to the brain, which can reduce the risk of things like memory problems, conditions similar to Alzheimer's. I'm not going to say that is going to prevent that, but it helps with any cognitive impairment as well, and enhancing the mood because it helps with serotonin and dopamine and those things that help us feel better. It also contains phenylalanine, phenylala- phenylalanine, which I can't say correctly. It's an amino acid, which helps with depression. That is also one that is related to headaches. And so sometimes dark chocolate can give people headaches. I know I used to drink a tea, a name brand tea that had extra phenylalanine, phenylethylamine in it, and I would get headaches. And it wasn't after a while I read the labels, which is my number one rule, always read the label. And I realized that that's what it was giving me headaches. So I can definitely overdo it with cocoa and products that contain things like that. And so people do need to watch for that. It's also been shown to help with blood sugar and improving insulin sensitivity and lowering the risk of diabetes. And Dan even saw a study where it said that it might have been the one he was talking about, where a tablespoon a day helps to lower blood pressure. And it was using that as a dangerous thing because your blood pressure can go too low. So if you're on medication, your blood pressure may drop too low and you need to watch that. Well, hello, definitely monitor that, but that might be a key there for you too. Discuss with your doctor, hey, I want to try taking more cacao. My doctor, as a matter of fact, the reason why I've been drinking the cacao in my dandelion tea is my doctor told me that I needed to have a cacao drink every day. It's actually written in my prescription. And I had given up chocolate and caffeine back in the summer. To get my antibodies down. My antibodies had gone up. Some of you know I was super sick this time last year, and I was trying to get my antibodies down, and they wouldn't go down. And she said, "You need a dopamine hit. Your adrenals are shot. You need to have a cocoa latte every day." And so I'm not telling anyone to do this. This is just my doctor talking to me. And so I was like, "Woohoo! Hello! I can start having a cacao again." And so there are benefits to it. But like I said, I could have too much and then I can have migraines. I do have a tendency for migraines. I haven't had them in a long time since I gave up gluten. I haven't had migraines, but I also haven't overdone it on cacao, and I also haven't been eating dairy and things like that either. So who knows what it is. But it can also help with blood sugar as well. And a lot of people like cacao, especially like if they have PMS, any kind of period issues, they start craving chocolate. And a lot of that can be magnesium. You need magnesium to help to relax the muscles. So if you have any kind of contractions going on in the body, magnesium helps with that, which might be why we are craving things like chocolate, which are high in magnesium. It's higher in iron, it's high in potassium, it's very high in minerals, which is probably why it's susceptible to the heavy metals that we were talking about before, that you want to make sure that you're looking at when you are buying any cocoa or chocolate. And then it also has the cocoa butter. I know I love cocoa butter. I love cocoa butter on my skin. I make chopsticks with cocoa butter. And so when you are buying certain products, sometimes the cocoa butter is removed. Sometimes the cocoa butter is still in there, but it has very essential fatty acids, which can be good for us. But then it also has some that can be more saturated fat, and so we want to watch that. And so, especially if you're buying chocolate, milk chocolate that has added fats to it, already has lots of fat, and so we want to make sure that we're paying attention to that. And so it looks like Dan has joined us back. So Dan, before we wrap things up, I've talked about the chemicals and the nutrients that are found in chocolate, things like the minerals and potassium and magnesium and iron. But I mentioned the study that you talked about where we did the math and it came out to 4.8 grams of chocolate to help with blood pressure. Did you want to talk about any more of the studies?
Did you talk about the one with muscle strength?
Oh no. So tell us about that one.
Okay. I'm always very interested in muscle strength. So there's a study, yes. There's a study showing that cocoa can improve muscle strength. Actually, there's a study with older people. They found older adults who consumed a tablespoon of natural cocoa a day for 12 weeks experienced a significant improvement in their muscle mass. And this is really important, especially as we get older, because after age 30, we start to lose muscle. So anything that we can do naturally to help retain this is going to help us live longer and be more, have more independence. So it also improves blood flow to the muscle. It increases your oxygenation to the muscle, and it improves the capillary growth, which gives you more blood flow. So all these things will help you get stronger and grow more muscle mass because a healthy body can grow healthy muscle. You have to be healthy to build muscle. So cocoa is one of those things that can help
Mhm.
us there. So
So I have a question. So does that mean I can just eat my cocoa?
unfortunately, no. You still gotta go do resistance strength training, some kind of resistance. That's the bad part about what we do. It does take effort.
You have to do the work.
Oh yeah, there's no way around it.
Yes, you have to do the work and just make it a part of your lifestyle. Find
Oh
what
yeah.
you enjoy. We need to move those muscles. We need to eat a healthy diet. So not just the cocoa, we need to eat all the other plants and things. So even though it's high in minerals, we need to get minerals from other sources as well as staying well hydrated. So we talked a little bit about adding cocoa to a smoothie. Adding cocoa to my dandelion drink. So this, I'll tell you about this one. So this is dandelion tea. I just made dandelion tea, and I stirred in a teaspoon of vanilla protein powder, and sometimes I'll stir in a teaspoon of cocoa. And so I have kind of the sweetness from the vanilla protein powder. It's also vanilla flavor, and then cocoa. Sometimes I'll put a chocolate protein powder with the cacao added to it, and so it's extra chocolate. And then I usually stir in some like almond milk, a little
That
bit of almond
sounds
milk. It's
delicious.
delicious.
Oh,
I have my own form of Starbucks here in my cup.
that is awesome. That's a good tip, guys. I've never would have thought of that in a million years.
So you can also make like energy bites. I've made energy bites where I will blend up like dates and nuts and some cacao powder in there. But if you don't like dates, then soak your nuts and seeds, which I recommend you do anyway, to activate those enzymes. Soak them and then stir in some protein, put in your food processor with some protein powder, vanilla or chocolate, and then your chocolate and cacao nibs or cocoa powder or something, and that's delicious. And then you don't have the dates in there, and you get the sweetness from your protein powder. Or just adding vanilla. You don't even have to do that. You could put in some monk fruit or something. So you have any other suggestions?
Oh, recipes, you mean?
Yeah. How can we incorporate some cacao?
Well, you can actually make chocolate oatmeal. You can do your oatmeal
Yes.
and you stir it in a little cocoa powder, a little almond milk. I like it that way sometimes.
Yeah.
Of course, you can make your own cookies and you can make chocolate cookies using cocoa
Mm-hmm.
powder and it's less fat that way. Um,
Yes. So I've made oatmeal where I would mash up a half a banana, and cook it, the oatmeal with water or milk with the half of the banana and then a couple tablespoons of cacao and just stir it up. So then it's sweet, it's chocolatey, and then top that with some pecans. Mm,
Yum.
delicious.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. So I'm sorry we lost you a little bit there, Dan, but I'm glad that you were able to join us back.
Yeah. Yeah. My internet, I guess, is not expensive enough. It's only a
But
hundred
we're
dollars a month, and it drops me when it wants to.
so we're glad that you made it back. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. And we're not telling you to eat cacao. We're telling you not to eat cacao, but we are saying cacao would be better than a chocolate bar. And so just incorporating it into your diet, not making it a major part of your diet as well, and doing the other healthy things are what you need to do as well. So thank you for joining us. Make sure you comment. We want to hear from you. We want to know, did you like this episode? Do you want to hear more about things like this? Do you want to hear you didn't agree with us? We want to know that too. Subscribe to our channel, share it with your friends. If you want to find out more about me, you can go to holisticgen.com. I also have a membership group at the gentwins.com. It's the Zen and Zest membership, Zen and Zest Zone. And if you want to work with Dan, Dan is a personal trainer. He's a health coach, and you can find him at danthenaturalman.com. Anyway, until next time, check out our other episodes on Jen and Dan's natural healing with plants.